Part 4. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 31. Datu and Han Dong were too frightened to speak, but Datu was fine. After all, it was the first time for Han Dong to accompany Lu Feng through the food bureau. The mad dog has an arrogant personality, and fights are commonplace. He didn't know anyone and came to him rashly. Lu Feng still had an arrogant look on his face, fearing that he would be beaten. "Boss Lu, let's go back. If you don't mix it up, you don't know how ruthless they are," Han Dong advised. "It's okay, I have to call him brother again if he sees him ruthlessly." The woman walked down and said, "Brother go, let you go up." Lu Feng took the lead and walked upstairs. There was a private room upstairs. There were 5 or 6 young people standing at the door, staring at Lu Feng with a bad expression. There was a mahjong table inside, and 4 people were sitting playing mahjong. A long-haired man sat opposite, with a rebellious expression, and asked, "Didn't you just say someone was looking for me?" Lu Feng stepped forward and said, "I'm looking for you." Brother Go raised his head and stared at Lu Feng, took a look, and sneered, "Just you humming be my brother? Ha 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 ha. It's the first time I've seen someone who can't find it on my own. I'm happy today, I'll give you 2 ways. First, kneel down and kowtow to let everyone cheer. Second, I will beat you," Brother Go said casually. "I choose the third one to be your eldest brother." Lu Feng took out 300 yuan from the file bag and threw it directly on the table. "What the hell are you begging for?" Brother Go looked at Jian angrily, and shouted with his finger, "Lu Feng, do you believe I will kill you?" Datu and Han Dong stood outside the door, looking at such a scene. Their palms were sweating nervously. Something really was going to happen. There were so many people on the other side, they were not opponents at all. Lu Feng took out another 1,000 yuan from his bag and threw it on the table. A full 1,013, the salary of ordinary people for several years. Although Brother Go did a good job, but so much money still made his eyes widen. But so many younger brothers watched, because of face, it was difficult to speak. Seeing that he didn't speak, Lu Feng took out another 700 and threw it on the table, and said, "I'll make it up for you." Brother Go stood up abruptly, looked at Lu Feng with a kind expression, and said, "Brother, what do you call it?" "Brother, don't take it offense. Brother Go has been around for so many years, and he knows a truth. You can't mess with rich people. The relationship between these rich people is intricate, and he can kill him by saying hello." Although he had never met Lu Feng before, he was by no means an ordinary person. "Society, Brother Feng," Lu Feng said, sitting on the chair, looking at the mad dog and asking, "I'm just asking you, who opened this piece today, go to smash people's factories?" Brother Feng's factory was smashed. Mad Dog glanced around and asked, "Have you heard of smashing the factory?" "Brother Dog, I heard that 4 monkeys voted to smash a cannery." Everyone was murmuring about the 4 monkeys. There were 7 or 8 people on the other side, and they lived in the suburbs. They had just made a name for themselves recently. This Lu Feng matter was considered a great power. "Brother, this man has bullied his brother, can you stand it?" Lu Feng stared at the mad dog and said, "I am very loyal to my brother. You don't treat me badly, I will definitely not treat you badly, understand?" Mad Dog understood the meaning, slapped the mahjong table violently, and shouted, "Even my brother Feng dares to provoke me. These scumbags don't want to live anymore. They have to let Brother Feng breathe out, improve his memory, and leave now." Mad Dog took more than a dozen people and rode a motorcycle straight to the suburbs. The battle was one-sided. In less than 10 minutes, the 4 monkeys were already lying on the ground, covering their heads with their hands, screaming constantly. "Brother Feng, it's him," Data shouted. Looking at Lu Feng, Sai Hao already understood, and hurriedly said, "Don't hit me, it's a guy named Wu Hongyu who gave me 50 yuan to smash your canning workshop." Lu Feng thought it was Ren Qianbo, but he was wearing white gloves. I was wrong, please forgive me, I really know I'm wrong, 4 monkeys pleaded. I know, you are young and ignorant, not to mention who is the one who hit me hard. Even without you, he would still find 5 monkeys and 6 pigs. Lu Feng said calmly. You are so right. I don't dare to touch your factory no matter how much money others will give you in the future. The 4 monkeys promised again and again. Lu Feng nodded with a smile on his face, stood up and said to the mad dog, break my leg. Mad dog was stunned for a moment, but he didn't expect the smiling Lu Feng to suddenly say such cruel words, even he couldn't react a little. Tonight, Lu Feng is going to give these bastards a reputation, so that Ren Qianbo will not get used to this trick, and he will dare to use it next time to break one of his legs, so as to avoid future troubles. Datu and Han Dong also saw Lu Feng's ruthlessness for the first time. Han Dong could clearly feel that Lu Feng was not a person who was motivated. Everything he did had his interests in consideration, and he would do it if he made money. There is no question of fear or not. Such a calm, profit-oriented person, it is difficult to succeed, but too calm, like a cold-blooded animal, people who are useless to him will definitely be abandoned. The screams like killing pigs resounded through the night sky, and many people shuddered and were a little scared. Lu Feng took out 2,000 yuan from his bag and put it in Mad Dog's hands. He said softly, thank you, brother dog. You're welcome, if there is any use in the future, brother Feng can speak up. Mad Dog looked at the money in his hand, the more Lu Feng gave, the more he would definitely not be easy for the other party. Zhang Xiaoyan looked at the clock on the wall ticking, her whole body became more and more anxious. Duo Duo in her arms was already asleep, for fear that something would happen to him. Putting Duo Duo on the bed, she didn't intend to wait any longer. She was going to have a look. Just after putting on her coat, Lu Feng's voice sounded outside the door, are you asleep? Open the door. Zhang Xiaoyan opened the door, and when she saw Lu Feng, she was worried all night. Seeing that he came back intact, she couldn't hold back her emotions any longer, and she fell directly into her arms. Lu Feng was a little stunned by this sudden hug, and hurriedly entered the room, closed the door, and asked, what's the matter? You scared me to death, and I didn't even have any news when I went out. Zhang Xiaoyan was already in tears as she spoke. Don't cry, Lu Feng wiped her tears, feeling a little speechless. Now that he doesn't beat her, why does he feel like he's been crying more than before? Is the workshop okay? Lu Feng recounted what happened tonight. Zhang Xiaoyan was shocked when he heard it, and called out after a long time, you broke a person's leg. If I don't give him a long memory, it will be endless in the future. It can be considered shocking. By the way, I plan to officially set up a factory. I will pay the workers' wages tomorrow and start preparing for a new factory. Lu Feng looked at Zhang Xiaoyan with confidence, as if this matter was a sure thing for him. But there was only one thing left in Zhang Xiaoyan's mind. He broke a human leg. Ever since he started trading, he has been worried every day. She is just a little woman, she wants to live her own little life, she doesn't want to worry. She looks at Lu Feng and says, my child, her father, let's quit, okay, we've already made money that others can't make in a lifetime. The first release of this book comes from 17K Novel Network, so watch the genuine content for the first time. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 32. In Zhang Xiaoyan's eyes, the current amount of more than 200,000 is too much, which is beyond her imagination, but she doesn't know that after more than 10 years, this amount of money will not be able to buy a toilet. Lu Feng looked at her, reached out and touched her long black hair, and said, is there anyone who thinks it's too much money? Don't worry, I can settle all this and make you live a good life, so should we change the house? Where to change? I'll look for it in the past few days, Zhang Xiaoyan whispered. Rest early. Lu Feng lay on the bed, thinking about which factory to open. Now there is a huge gap in all walks of life, whether it is clothing, food, toys, or household items, there is a huge market. During this period of time, Ren Qianbo had done everything he could. Lu Feng originally wanted to make another 30,000 to 50,000 yuan, but he didn't have this chance, and he didn't even have a chance to discuss him. After thinking about it for a while, if it is about making money, it has to be children's food. Wanyuan Food Factory is going in this direction. Anyway, it can work in any industry, why not hold Ren Qianbo? Early the next morning, the front of the workshop was full of employees, and a truck pulled up at the door, who didn't know what happened last night, with a confused look on his face. Lu Feng arrived early to settle wages for the workers, and some of the people who took the goods yesterday will also hand over and refund the deposit. Boss Lu, you must have let Boss Ren of Wanyuan do it, right? Someone asked from the side. I don't know, Lu Feng smiled and didn't say much. Boss Lu, if you can't make someone else's work, you're just making a small fortune. The kind of person who runs a big factory has a very complicated relationship. He's not an ordinary person. That's right, you've earned a lot, and you've lost a lot of money after driving for a few days. Everyone muttered as if they knew the inside story, but Lu Feng didn't ask much. In the eyes of these people, Lu Feng obviously couldn't get it right. The workshop was smashed like this, and he didn't even dare to give a fart. He was dead. It is estimated that only Wu Hongyu knew about Lu Feng's ruthlessness. He went to Four Monkeys early in the morning and asked how things were going. The result was that he was in the hospital and his leg had been broken. With the workshop no longer shipping and supplying canned food in the countryside, only the Wanyuan family is left. Yesterday it was still 6 cents, but today it is changed to 1 cent, lovely. Many people complained, but in order to live, they could only continue to pull. In the office, Ren Qianbo was listening to the story about Lu Feng. The workers had been dismissed, and the machines had not been repaired. He had obviously given up. The canning battle that lasted less than 10 days was clearly the winner. This market. It's very good. It can be done every year, and the profit is very considerable. I should thank him. Ren Qianbo pondered for a while and said, I want to invite him to dinner, let's set it up at the Tianyu Hotel, and call all his good brothers and messes up. At 11 o'clock noon, all payment for goods was settled. Lu Feng looked at the ledger and asked without raising his head, how much is the factory building of 500 to 600 square meters now? Buy, Big Head asked. Even if you can afford it, don't you buy anything else after buying the factory? It must be renting. Lu Feng looked at Datu and Han Dong and asked, who knows? I do know one. The former sugar factory had more than 800 square meters. It was very big. Han Dong thought for a while and said, I don't think it's cheap. 1 or 2,000 a month. 1 or 2,000 is not cheap. If you are not sure whether you can make a profit, you should be careful about the money, but Lu Feng thinks it is just right. The factory is big, and there is no need to find an address for later expansion. Let's have a look in the afternoon, let's eat first. Lu Feng just finished speaking when a middle-aged man came speeding over on a motorcycle. Boss Lu, isn't it? The man asked while looking at the three of them. I am, what's wrong? Lu Feng looked at him a little puzzled. I'm the manager of Wanyuan Food Factory. We will invite you to dinner, Tianyu Hotel. After the other party finished speaking, he left without any unnecessary nonsense. We don't have any grudges with Ren Qianbo. This person is endless. If you invite me to dinner now, you don't need to ask to know that you are showing off your power. The big head was very dissatisfied, and said solemnly, is it too bullying? Don't eat for nothing, let's go. Lu Feng waved his hand and rode his motorcycle straight to the Tianyu Hotel. On the 6th floor, in the private room, outside of Lu Feng's group, they were basically all there, and they were all familiar faces. Hienli was sitting next to Mr. Ren, her whole body was indescribably moisturizing, and she was more feminine. Also significantly wealthy. Zhou Jiangguo, Sun Longbin, and Wu Hongyu sat in order. Lu Feng pushed open the door and walked in. Looking at the crowd, he said, "Oh, it's so neat, it seems I'm late. Boss Lu has a lot of things to do, so it's not surprising that he's late. It's understandable to clear the account today." Ren Qianbo's words were full of concern, but with an unstoppable smile, he greeted, sit down, sit down." Lu Feng sat down, glanced at He Yanli, and said in surprise, "Hey, isn't this widow he, aren't you Kefu? Seeing as you are so feminine, you have a man again." "Who's cheating?" He Yanli coughed twice, her expression not very good looking. "Sister, he is a prosperous husband. Mr. Ren's factory is getting more and more popular, but someone closes down, which makes people laugh," Wu Hongyu boasted. "Wu Hongyu? Haven't you always been interested in He Yanli?" Lu Feng turned his head to look at Ren Qianbo and said, "President Ren, let me remind you, be careful, there are too many scenes of those who sing opera and the servants hook up with the wife." Everyone's faces were ugly. Lu Feng was here today to sow discord. Zhou Jiangguo said, all right, let's raise a glass to celebrate the Wanyuan food factory, which is getting more and more popular." Everyone raised their glasses, only Datu and Han Dong were more embarrassed, and for a while they didn't know whether they should stand up. "I also wish Boss Lu to return to the ranks of ordinary people. You can't call him boss in the future. You don't even have anyone under you," Ren Qianbo said with a bit of sneer. Lu Feng picked up the cup, touched him, and said, "Why are you so happy? Do you think you won? Isn't it?" Ren Qianbo spread his hands and said arrogantly, "What else can you do to me? Your workers are all dismissed. Workers are easy to find. I'll tell you a secret, you can't tell anyone. I'm planning to build a serious factory, mainly producing children's food, canned food, etc. Don't think you won, the war has just begun. How much is a can of food worth?" After Lu Feng finished speaking, he smiled sullenly and took a sip of wine. Ren Qianbo's face turned cold, he dared to rush to his base camp, and said solemnly, "Just you? Just me? Let's see Zhenjiang, you can do whatever you want, I'll follow." Lu Feng put down his glass and walked towards Wu Hongyu. He stretched out his hand and patted him heavily on the shoulder, and said, "Brother, don't play tricks for the tiger, you have to be careful about making money, or be careful with your legs." Wu Hongyu's whole body was smart, and his back was soaked with cold sweat. "Let's celebrate slowly, but let me tell you, it's too early to be happy." Lu Feng waved at Datu and Han Dong, opened the door and went out. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 33. There was a burst of laughter in the private room. To them, Lu Feng's words were like a joke. In Ren Qianbo's eyes, the reason why Lu Feng was able to make money was because he saw the rural market. If he saw it first, he wouldn't have anything to do with him. Now, with the few cents he earned, he actually wanted to make his base camp, which was ridiculous. Han Dong originally thought that Lu Feng was going to use the money to expand canned food production. Although the competition with Wanyuan was fierce, some could make money. Unexpectedly, Lu Feng was going to enter the field of children's snacks, and he was right with Ren Qianbo. Do it, isn't this courting death? They are worth millions. Boss Lu, do you want to make children's food? Han Dong caught up and said, I think we are still making canned food, at least we are familiar with it. If you spend so much money in it, if you lose it, you will lose money, and it will compete with Wanyuan foods. Real. Lu Feng stepped down to look at him and smiled, afraid. In terms of actual conditions, We can't compare to others at all. Han Dong couldn't figure out where he got his confidence. The market is occupied by others, and major channels are occupied. Even if it is a price war, people can get money. Kill these people. The big head listened and nodded again and again, thinking that what Han Dong said made sense. The conditions are all set here, everyone can see clearly, the probability of success is too small. Lu Feng smiled at the serious looks of the two and said, according to what you said, as long as a company occupies the market and stabilizes the quality of its products, it can sit back and relax. A person like Qianbo is also worthy of being a factory owner. Lu Feng looked so dismissive and shook his head. A person like him is a product of the times, and the times created him, and no one else has it in the hands of others. Money to start a business, there is a huge market vacancy, and the probability of success is very high. In my eyes, he is vulnerable like a paper tiger. But your canning workshop has been closed down, Datu said bluntly. Han Dong quietly pushed him and whispered, Boss Lu is bragging, don't talk. Lu Feng felt it, but they didn't believe it. In this age where people have to ask others for information, many things are tied up. Trust me, it's not too easy to kill him. Lu Feng waved his hand and said, go to that sugar factory. The sugar factory was originally a state-owned enterprise, and was later operated by the first batch of mixed systems. It is estimated that the parties involved could not tell exactly how many shares and how many people were involved in it. It has been collapsed for several years, and there is only one factory building left. The yard is still growing with grass, which looks quite desolate. This place is under the management of the city's state-owned assets department. Who do you want to rent? An old man in his 50s or 60s glanced at the three of them and landed smoothly from the 28th car. You've worked hard. Lu Feng hurriedly stuffed the cigarettes he bought in his pocket. Dealing with people from these units, being able to do things happily, spending a little bit, it's all trivial matters. You're welcome. This place is 800 or 900 square meters. It used to be a sugar factory. It was closed down. There are warehouses, factories, offices, finance, canteens, etc. It's all complete. Section Chief Liang said, and opened the rusty locking his head. He said, go in and have a look. It has been abandoned for 2 years, the grass is as tall as one person, and Lu Feng walked around. It was very good. The things in the office were not removed, the sofas, desks, chairs and so on back then were all available, and a large warehouse was found in the warehouse. Pile of dry candies. Senior Liang, are we renting on an annual basis? Or? Don't ask me, I'm in charge of the place. It must be rented on an annual basis. If such a big place is rented to you on a monthly basis, it's a loss. Of course, you have powerful people. Let's talk about it, right? Liang Keichang gave you a look that you understand. I don't know what the price is. Lu Feng wanted to explore the bottom line, or get to know someone from his mouth. There was an unexpected harvest, but it was a pity that he didn't say anything extra. How does it look? If it's suitable, go to our place to go through the formalities. By the way, what are you going to do? Doing food processing, children's food, canning and the like. Section Chief Liang frowned, looked at Lu Feng and said, do you know Ren Qianbo? Do you know? Lu Feng felt that the city was a little small. He just had dinner with him at noon, and it seemed that he had met an acquaintance again. Of course I know. They are rich now, and they are running this kind of factory. Seeing how young you are, let me tell you something. They are already big, and it is not easy for you to survive. Do something else. Section Chief Liang suggested. I'm afraid this is difficult. What's your relationship with him? Lu Feng wondered. 20 years ago, I was in a department. At that time, he was in the Municipal Archives Bureau. That kid was good-looking and smart. At that time, our director's daughter was also in our department. Datu and Han Dong listened with wide eyes, but they didn't expect such a thing. It must be a girl, and then there is today, Datu said firmly. Yes or no, this person is too cruel. Back then, his family was in good condition and he was already engaged. After he went back, he broke off the engagement. After catching up with the director's daughter, he got married. After marrying, he quit working soon, creating the current Wan Yuan. Food section Chief Liang slapped his lips, as if he had tasted his youth, and seemed to regret not chasing after the director's daughter. Unexpectedly, Ren Qianbo was still a door-to-door son-in-law, and now he is not clear with He Yanli. It is estimated that the old man is dead, otherwise he would not dare to borrow a few courage from him. As soon as I talk about it, I will talk too much. This is the situation in this factory. You can see for yourself. Section Chief Liang waved his hand and strode out the door. The factory is very good, even if the rent is 10,000 to 20,000 yuan a year, it is worth it. Farewell to Section Chief Liang. Lu Feng looked at Datu and Han Dong and said, the factory is set here, and the next step is the assembly line and raw materials. The return line needs a new one. Preferably the kind that is easy to maintain and easy to disassemble. What are we doing? Datu looked depressed. Cotton peel, bubble gum, biscuits, whatever the children eat, we will do it, or you can say, what Wan Yuan does, we will do it. Lu Feng looked at the time, it was already 4:30 in the afternoon, and he said, tomorrow, let's integrate Wan Yuan's resources and place an order when it's time to order. I only have one request, that is, he has it, and we have it too. Datu and Han Dong looked at each other and felt that the odds of winning were not that high, but it was indeed the fastest to use Wan Yuan's resources directly. Lu Feng looked at the two of them. The biggest problem now is that they don't have the right people, so they don't feel relieved if something is a little out of the ordinary. Is that okay? The two nodded. Lu Feng narrowed his eyes, with a somewhat mischievous look, and whispered, there are still 2 or 3 hours before the evening, how about we play a fun game? Boss Lu, don't do this, I'm scared, Han Dong said timidly. What do you want to do? Do you two know where Ren Qianbo's wife is on weekdays? He has hummed me so many times, I have to give him a big gift. Lu Feng smiled. Brother Feng, you are a man with a wife. If you want to take revenge on Ren Qianbo, that's all. I'm sorry, sister-in-law, Datu said hurriedly. Hearing this, Lu Feng was speechless. His wife is in her 40s, and she is ill. The pretty Zhang Xiaoyan doesn't love her and stares at his wife? I'm going to tell her that Ren Qianbo is cheating. Lu Feng sighed and said, let's go. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 34. Ren Qianbo's wife is also easy to inquire. Near the Wan Yuan food factory, if you find anyone, you will know that in recent years, there are beauty salons and Hong Kong-style tea houses. There was only one local Hong Kong-style tea house, and there was one next to the Tianyu Hotel. Lu Feng suddenly realized that an underdeveloped city has its advantages, and it is easier to find people. In the next 20 to 30 years, I don't know how many Hong Kong-style tea houses, and the ghost knows where to find them. He turned his head to look at Datu and Han Dong, and said, get in the car, I'll treat you tonight, bring you something to eat, drive. Eyes open. The two hurriedly got into the car and went straight to the Tianyu Hotel. The people who came to eat here either came from the south on business, were not used to eating, and could be reimbursed, or they came to pretend, just like the children in KFC today. Eating is the kind of noble feeling. Lu Feng walked in and walked around, his eyes fixed on a woman in her 40s, and sat down at a table not far away. Thunder Monkey, please order, the waiter spoke local Cantonese, and Lu Feng's scalp tingled as he heard it. Datu and Han Dong were a little nervous, feeling that the style here is more upscale than the Tianyu Hotel next to it, and whispered, can you speak Cantonese? What if you don't understand? I just said, lose your old mother, so hey, hen. Listening to the conversation between the two, Lu Feng almost laughed out loud, ordered rice rolls, shrimp dumplings, etc., and poured a cup of tea after ordering, and looked at the woman opposite him absently. A woman in her 40s who still eats alone, has to be said to be really pitiful. The other party obviously felt it, and looked here with some doubts, and the atmosphere began to become subtle. As the food was served, Lu Feng lowered his head and ate. There were some old people at the table next to him, and he couldn't understand. Finally, she couldn't help it, stood up and walked over, asking, "Do you know me?" "I know, but I don't seem to know." Lu Feng frowned and said, "What does Ren Qianbo have to do with you?" "That's my man, are you friends with him?" "Forget it, I don't know how to say it." "Forget it, for the sake of your family harmony, I won't talk about his cheating." Lu Feng waved his hand with a face full of embarrassment. Han Dong snorted, and the rice roll in his mouth sprayed out. "You have already said it, why don't you say it?" "Which fox did he hook up with again?" The woman's hand trembled a little. Obviously, the son-in-law who came to the house was completely out of control. He stared at Lu Feng and said, "Could that shameless thing be your wife?" Puff. The head also spewed out. "You two have a meal, what are you doing?" Lu Feng looked at the two of them, stopped fighting, and said sternly, "She's a widow, 25 or 6, very young, living in the same building as me, or I hope you'll keep an eye on him, he's a runaway stallion out there. I can't control it. They have money, and my dad has also retired for several years. Let's just live like this. I really can't get a divorce." The woman looked at Lu Feng and said, "You are Lu Feng, right? It seems that Boss Ren has talked a lot about me." Lu Feng smiled. "He didn't mention you, but you are quite famous in our business world. In fact, our group of women also pay attention to you. A few days ago, they asked if your workshop could survive." Zhang Yelai said lightly. "I didn't expect that I would become popular among you rich women first. If there is a need for financing in the future, I have to rely on Sister Zhang." Lu Feng said politely. The two went back and forth, she called brother, Lu Feng called old sister, indescribable intimacy, giving the illusion that sister and brother had met after a long absence, but when Zhang Yelai said goodbye, she turned her head and looked ugly. As the saying goes, family ugliness cannot be made public. She has had enough hardships in these years, but now Ren Qianbo gave her another resounding slap, tearing her final face off. Lu Feng knew too much about such a wealthy family. They were loving outside, and the two might even live together for many years. They all had common interests. When it was revealed that a man cheated, women would immediately stand up and believe him. Believe in a ghost. There is no common interest to bind, and each other has long faced each other. This is also the reason why Lu Feng didn't get married in his last life. He couldn't tell whether that person was because he loved him or because of money. Sighing and sighing about the so-called love, Lu Feng lowered his head to eat, and the chatting words from the table next to him came over. "The market here is very small, so it's better not to come. For such a small market, Mr. Gao will visit it himself. Actually, there is no need to get the total sales, it's fine to ship directly, and the main focus is Zhejiang. You can come as soon as you come. There is so much nonsense. Zhong always goes to the TV station to advertise. There must be distribution points in the whole country, understand? This is called the distribution system. Mr. Gao, say it. Eat and eat." Lu Feng was stunned. How could he feel that these people were promoted by Wahaha? Wahaha was established in 1987, and the sales exceeded 100 million in 2 years, making it easy to make a small goal. Such a godlike speed made Lu Feng, a reborn person, ashamed. Wahaha went to the whole country. It was an advertisement on Yangma's side in the early 1990s, which immediately became popular. Calculate the time, no problem. Lu Feng frowned and thought for a while. If I remember correctly, in the promotion of Wahaha, thanks to a god named Gao Jiwei, the later product development and diversified market positioning are all done by him, making Wahaha blossom from nutrient solution to everywhere. Are you from Wahaha? Lu Feng turned his head and asked. The chattering of the 4 or 5 people stopped abruptly. Looking at Lu Feng, he nodded and said, yes, you know Wahaha. I been to Zhejiang and drank it. Is there any one of you named Gao Jiwei? Lu Feng asked again tentatively. Mr. Gao, do you know him? Everyone looked at a man in his 30s, who stared at Lu Feng with question marks on his face, sure he didn't know him. Hello, I'm Gao Jiwei, I don't seem to know you. Lu Feng had never met Gao Jiwei, but he knew that there was such a person, and he quit Wahaha after 2005. He heard that he went to the United States to invest. How many of you are Gao Jiwei? Lu Feng asked. It seems that I'm the only one. What's wrong? Gao Jiwei wondered, what's the matter? There was a wretched smile on the corner of Lu Feng's mouth, and the talent bumped into his arm so inexplicably. Datu and Han Dong saw him smiling like this. After contacting him for a while, they already understood. I promise you, he's going to lie again, Datu said firmly. I think so. Lu Feng knows that Wahaha is a big company now, and the development prospects of such a company are very good. It is impossible for people to leave their jobs for a small factory that has not been established. And still staying in such a city, apart from cheating, Lu Feng couldn't think of a second way. When I returned to China this year, my daddy had a phone call with your boss. Don't think that my daddy is an overseas Chinese. He takes good care of the rising stars in China. Your boss is very optimistic about you, emphasized, very overseas Chinese style. Yes, Mr. Zhong is a very good person. But, he is more optimistic about the other person. He just thinks that you are not bad. I don't think you have developed much, but don't be discouraged. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 35. Gao Jiwei's face sank. There are indeed people who are better than him in the company, and now the company is developing rapidly. The reason why he ran north is to grab the market and improve his voice in the company. As for Lu Feng's identity, he has no doubts. He heard that the boss is in contact with foreign bigwigs to prepare for financing. There are too many investors from overseas Chinese, foreign capital, and Hong Kong Island. I don't know what your family does, Gao Jiwei became polite. My family is doing some small business. My dad co-founded a company on Wall Street that sells wealth management products and insurance, Lu Feng said indifferently, as if it was really a small business. Financial products and insurance. Is this a small business? For someone like you, it's really a small business, and it's fate to meet here. What project are you investigating here? Gao Jiwei asked. Others were also curious. My hometown is here. My dad went to Guangzhou in 1957, Hong Kong Island the next year, and the United States in 1961. It's not easy to start from scratch. You know, when the Chinese go there, they open a Chinese restaurant. When I have money, I love my family very much. My dad is someone who always talks about my hometown, so I will come back and check it out in advance, Lu Feng sighed as he spoke, with a feeling of the vicissitudes of time. No matter where you go, you can't forget it, someone next to him said. Yes, it is because of these patriotic people that we can develop. After all, we're not from other people's countries. We are all descendants of Yan and Huang. Are you planning to stay in China? Gao Jiwei inquired. My old man asked me to stay in China. I really don't know what to do. After listening to your boss's call, I became interested in making food. Recently, I was investigating and trying to do it. It was my first time to start a business and it failed. Don't be afraid of losing 1 or 200 million yuan, Lu Feng said indifferently. 1 or 2 billion, Some people's eyes widened and they dared not believe. Is that too much? How much? Lu Feng smiled and said with a face that he didn't feel anything about money. If you want to do it, do the biggest thing. Set a small goal first and make it 1 billion yuan. Han Dong and Datu had their heads pressed on the plate, and they didn't dare to raise their heads at all. They were really afraid that they couldn't hold back their laughter. In their eyes, Lu Feng is really a good acting player. The two even felt that he was in the wrong profession. He didn't blush for bragging. But I don't have anyone in the country. Mr. Gao, if you have a suitable one, you can introduce it to me. There is no problem with the salary and treatment. Lu Feng stretched out his hand and said, thank you. Gao Jiwei and the others were already in a trance. Looking at Lu Feng, they felt like a pie in the sky. They had heard too many stories like this, about meeting big bosses while eating, rising in life, and accidentally getting to know ordinary people, and the other party revealed his identity turned out to be a big man. Guy. Now this kind of thing hit him on Gao Jiwei's head, making him a little dizzy. What's your surname? Gao Jiwei found that he didn't know their name. Your surname is Lu, and your English name is Jason Lu, Lu Feng introduced. When Datu heard the English name, he couldn't hold back his laughter, and hurriedly stopped, feeling like his throat was stuck, and he was babbling for a long time. Jenny, what's wrong with you? Lu Feng stared at Datu with a bad expression. Datu immediately waved his hand to express his embarrassment. Lu Feng turned his head and said, this is Jenny, my personal butler, that is Claude, bodyguard and driver. Hello. Gao Jiwei said hello. It was obvious that he was a little excited. He looked at Lu Feng and said, if I have a suitable candidate, I don't know how to contact you. I just returned to China, and my foreign business card can't be used. 5 days later, I will go to the hotel to find you. After Lu Feng finished speaking, he looked at Tiu and Han Dong and said, Jenny, Claude, have you finished eating? Yeah. Yeah. The two hurriedly nodded to cooperate with Lu Feng. Han Dong was still a little jerky, his face was not red or heartbeat. After all, he had cooperated with Lu Feng several times. See you later. Lu Feng stood up and waved his hand. Mr. Lu, I don't live in Tianyu, it's in the Lijing Hotel opposite. Okay, I see. Lu Feng walked over to the waiter, packed some refreshments, and walked out the door slowly with the things in his hand. As soon as they walked out of the gate, Han Dong and Data breathed a sigh of relief, looked at Lu Feng and said, Brother Feng, what are you talking about? It has nothing to do with us. That's right, I was originally looking for Ren Qianbo's wife. After finishing the work, why did I tell others that? Han Dong whispered, if I hadn't known your details, I would have believed you're evil. That Gao Jiwei is a talented person. I want to recruit him, Lu Feng said casually. Ah. How do you know it's a talent? Han Dong wondered. Lu Feng didn't know how to answer, so he couldn't tell him. I not only know that he is a talent, but also know that Wahaha is very good in the future. At 9:30 in the evening, in a small villa on the edge of the city, the sound of quarrels accompanied by the sound of beating and smashing continued. Ren Qianbo, do you want a face, even a widow? You really don't pick it? Does it have anything to do with you? Each has his own way. If you can't, get out. Now let me get out of the way. Your wings are hard. If it wasn't for my father, you would be today. You are just a door-to-door son-in-law. Go to Nima. Screaming, swearing, crying, and roaring one after another. In the eyes of outsiders, Ren Qianbo is rich, beautiful, and very happy, but happiness is often known only to himself. Lu Feng parked the car at the third house, and was about to go upstairs. When he saw Wu Hongyu squatting at the door smoking a cigarette, and looking at Lu Feng, his eyes were a little bit resentful. Lu Feng took a few steps back and stood in front of him and said, if you dare to join my family again, I will ruin you. I don't want to know you and annoy me. Let's try. Humph, Wu Hongyu stood up and went back to the house. He didn't dare to go with courage, especially after the accident with the 4 monkeys. He was even more nervous. Lu Feng opened the door and saw Zhang Xiaoyan and Duo Duo sitting at the dining table. Both of them were happy to see him back. "Why did you just come back?" "The food is cold, so I'm making a lot of noise to eat," Zhang Xiaoyan blamed a bit. "You can eat it if you want, wait for me, I'll eat it outside." Lu Feng put the bag in his hand on the table, smiled at Duo Duo, and said, "Try this." "What is this?" "Guangzhou refreshment. It's expensive, so are you. You've spent a lot of money recently. How can you live like this? Save some money. Our family is not a rich family, so don't compare yourself with others." Zhang Xiaoyan babbled, like an old woman, but opened the bag swiftly in her hand and gave him a bite first. "Honey, let's live somewhere else." Lu Feng looked at the pretty face under the gas lamp. There are too many people in this building jealous of their family. Who knows what happened? After the establishment of the factory, it must be continuous. If something happens, he can't take care of it. Zhang Xiaoyan looked at him, blushed suddenly, shyly punched him, and said, "What is it, my dear? Why are you talking about nauseous words? Don't say it in the future, it's very embarrassing." Lu Feng laughed and asked, "What's that called?" "Call my name. This is too raw." "That's called that mouth." "It's too raw. I think it's better to be called dear, baby, be careful, and wife." "You can pick one." Lu Feng said this deliberately, mainly because he had never seen such a shy girl. "Did you embarrass me on purpose?" Zhang Xiaoyan stood up and raised her hand to hit. Lu Feng turned around and ran away, and the room was happy for a while. Gao Jiwei was lying on the hotel bed and couldn't sleep. Only that sentence echoed in his mind: "Your boss said, you are not the best." You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 36. Gao Jiwei is very ambitious. He has a high level of knowledge in market control, marketing promotion, and product positioning. This is also the reason why he became the general manager of Wahaha in the 1990s, and Wahaha grew rapidly. However, what he thinks now is that he doesn't have much future. If he stays, he can only be a middle-level management. Now he meets Mr. Lu's once-in-a-millennium opportunity, and he still really wants to seize it. This night is destined to be sleepless. The next morning, Yanli was caught and went straight home. After Lu Feng finished breakfast, he went straight to Datu's house. In the morning, he went to the State-Owned Assets Supervision and Administration Office to complete the formalities. It was almost as he had guessed, and the rent was 21,000 yuan a year. After getting the key, he went straight to the factory building. He looked at the weeds in the yard and sighed. When this sugar factory was at its peak, there were 700 or 800 people. It was definitely a big factory. 700 or 800 people. Lu Feng nodded secretly. The early stage development is almost the same, and he will strive to open this factory before the end of the year. Now Lu Feng has no respect for Ren Qianbo, and he wants to benchmark against Wahaha. This year, we will expand the number of people in the factory to 700 or 800. Our goal is to be bigger. This year, the factory will be established. Next year, the factory will be open to the south. All kinds of food will occupy all kinds of shops, supply and marketing cooperatives, and supermarkets. Lu Feng stared at the factory overgrown with weeds and said. Han Dong was a little dumbfounded when he heard Lu Feng's rhetoric. He didn't know if the factory could get up. He had already started to build a branch. Boss Lu, I think we should be more practical. The most important question now is how to get rid of so much grass, Han Dong asked. Recruiting employees, Lu Feng asked the two of them, have the assembly line been connected? We called some companies and quoted the price. If we got the whole set, it would cost more than 190,000 yuan, which is too expensive. Han Dong looked at the big head after he finished speaking. How much money Lu Feng has, he knows best that after buying the machine and renting the factory, there is no hair left. This feeling of being stretched out is really hummed up. A little carelessness is irreversible. The big head feels okay. After all, I have some money now, and when I got that workshop, I really didn't have any hair. He said he had to pay first and then bring it over. Pay first? You won't be cheated, right? Lu Feng asked nervously. Datu and Han Dong glanced at each other. Brother Feng, who has always been adventurous, suddenly became careful. I don't blame Lu Feng. There are too many liars now. Especially phone scams. Many companies prevent being fooled and ask to pay first, but now the information is not smooth. Many companies are about to close down, and people here don't know it yet. Some people specifically buy a corporate shell, saying that they can use foreign exchange to buy imported goods. I don't know how many people have been deceived. There was a car sound outside the factory door. Lu Feng knew it was Ren Qianbo without looking. He was too familiar with his car during this period of time. Sure enough, Ren Qianbo ran in angrily. There were several bloodstains on his face, which looked very scary. Hey, Boss Ren, Lu Feng looked at him in surprise, looked at him for a while, and asked, did you accompany Tang Seng to study scriptures and meet Begujing? Or did you meet Mei Chaofeng by chance? Go to Nima, Ren Qianbo said with a grim expression on his face, and landed on Feng with his finger. Aren't you humming rude? Tell my wife, why didn't you tell my parents? It's you who did it first. Besides, you should be more obedient when you become a son-in-law. I'm a good girl. You wait for your father. I'm incompetent to make you comfortable all day long. Is it my inability to make a mess? Play with me? You're also worthy, I can't kill you. Ren Qianbo was purely here to vent his emotions, spouting all kinds of foul language, wishing to eat people. I'll tell you the truth, you need 200,000 yuan to buy a machine. This factory is 20,000 yuan. How much money do you have in your hand to grab the market with me? You are a piece of garbage. Lu Feng nodded secretly. Just now he was thinking about whether he could make money, but now it seems that Ren Qianbo is also staring at him. The other party should be fine, but he is so arrogant and looks very uncomfortable. Boss Ren, you came alone? Lu Feng asked with a smile. Ren Qianbo woke up instantly, looked at the three people and said, I don't care how many people I have, and don't get involved in my family's affairs in the future. What the hell? I'll go first. Big head, this place seems to be out of the way. Even if you beat a person and scream, no one can hear it, right? Yes, there is no one around 2 miles away. Ren Qianbo had already started to step back, turned his head and ran away. Catch me and beat him to death, and punch him out, Lu Feng shouted, picking up a stone from the ground and smashing it at it. The big head ran fast. When the other party was about to get into the car, he was kicked a few times and tried to drag him out of the car window, but the car had already started. Big head, let go, Lu Feng shouted. Data let go of his hand, and the car sped away. Okay, leave him alone. Lu Feng waved his hand and said, now go and make money. The sooner the assembly line comes back, the better. The rest is to contact the supplier and then get the product. When I got home on a motorcycle, I rummaged through the bed to find the money bag, counted more than 190,000 and went straight to the bank. Before making the payment, I made a few more phone calls, only to confirm that it was correct. After leaving the bank with the list, Lu Feng sat down on the steps and sighed as he watched the people coming and going under the scorching sun. Boss Lu, if I have nothing else to do, I'll go back first, Han Dong said. Lu Feng nodded and said, go back. In addition to waiting for the machine these days, you should sort out Wan Yuan's suppliers and communicate more. Okay. Brother Feng, I'm going back to Data said. Wait, Lu Feng waved his hand and motioned him to sit down. Brother Feng, what's the matter? Data asked in confusion. Lu Feng put his arms around his shoulders and said, you should have a share of this factory. Thank you for your unconditional trust. I plan to sell you 5% of the original shares of this factory for $1. 5%, the big head thought for a moment that 5% of the more than 200,000 yuan was a little moved. Brother Feng, it's too much, I can pay for the shares, go back with my dad say, it just so happens that the factory is also short of money. Lu Feng patted him on the shoulder heavily and said, no, just $1, Brother Feng trusts you, then you will take care of the finances, and, if you have nothing to do in the next few days, go to the Industry and Commerce Bureau to register the company, you will be a legal person. What legal person? Datu asked in confusion. It's the corporate legal person column, write your name, and remember to bring your ID card. Lu Feng smiled at him and said, go ahead, do your job, Brother Feng, sit for a while. Datu left happily. For the first time, he knew what a brother was, and he felt the feeling of being trusted. Lu Feng looked at his back and thought to himself that sometimes he knew too much, but he was unhappy. If he became a legal person, he would be able to let go of it. Of course, Lu Feng wouldn't cheat him, but he was afraid that uncontrollable factors would happen, and if the corporate legal person was caught, he wouldn't be able to take charge of the overall situation. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 37. Grandma, sister, come and see, it's beautifully decorated. Lu Yaoyao and Chen Mei's eyes softened when the tender and crisp voice heard in the ears of Lu Yaoyao and Chen Mei. Your sister said, this is your wedding room, you can choose a house you like. The little guy's eyes suddenly lit up, then I'll choose the one with the balcony. Then he said suspiciously, Grandma, what is a wedding room? Chen Mei opened his mouth, not knowing what to say. When discussing this issue just now, I accidentally said it casually, and looked at Lu Yaoyao, full of complaints. Lu Yaoyao coughed and turned her head, she was secretly having fun for a while, then she turned her head, her bright eyes sparkled with some teasing, the wedding room, it's you and the person you like. The house you live in, you can live together, and what to eat and drink in the future will be the person you will think of at the first time, forming a family. Is that so? Qi Rang scratched his head and asked back. Yes, that's it, Lu Yaoyao did not hesitate. After getting Lu Yaoyao's affirmative answer, Qi Rang cheered, okay, I can live in the same house with my sister from now on, my sister is no longer the children, but belongs to Lala alone. Yes, Qi Rang happily ran down from the stairway, threw himself into Lu Yaoyao's arms, and refused to come out. Lu Yaoyao felt that she must have missed something. She took the person out of her own arms, and then frowned, why do you say that? Qi Rang's little hand hugged Lu Yaoyao's hand tightly and refused to leave. Sister, you only belong to Lala when you are at home, you are strict with Lala at school, Lala is your brother, you should take care of me more, you can't be bullied by others, otherwise, where can you find such a cute little brother? That charming tone made Lu Yaoyao burst into laughter. In order to better cultivate Qi Rang, Lu Yaoyao directly transferred back to the kindergarten after taking the 6th grade students and began to teach Qi Rang. Moreover, with the development of Santun School, it seems that traffic and other things are relatively backward. After consideration by the government, Santun village was specially selected to be located in a place in the town, which was specially divided into schools, and it was a little further away from the town. It is somewhat inconvenient to go back and forth from class to the village, which is why Lu Yaoyao and the others moved. Otherwise, with Chen Mei's character, she would definitely not move. Lu Yaoyao will not move either. In the school, As a child of the teacher's family, Lu Yaoyao treated Qi Rang and other students equally, and would not treat him specially because of his own identity. Qi Rang has been very attached to Lu Yaoyao since he was a child. He was supposed to be in the grade to play with other children, but he likes to follow her s. His elder sister is long and his elder sister is short. Although he can learn a lot, he lacks children's playmates. Its development is unhealthy. And its school age. So Qi Rang, who was over 4 years old, asked Lu Yaoyao to sneak into the school to study and meet new friends. Although what Qi Rang said was very flattering, Lu Yaoyao squatted down and tickled his little nose. The nose is very tall and straight, and with other handsome facial features, it is obvious that you can see the charming appearance in the future when you grow up, and the eyes are a little raised, with a hint of unconsciousness. CMA, Lu Yaoyao carefully recalled his biological parents, although they were still similar in length, but the children born from this combination did not look like their own, but rather a mutated breed. Well, variety. Lu Yaoyao's heart froze for a while. Don't think that I can't hear the meaning of it, you have to think about it. I am your elder sister, my elder sister is your family, family is inseparable, and, how can I listen say you are the boss in the class? Lu Yaoyao glanced at Qi Rang sideways, her tone was not good. Although Qi Rang didn't like to play with children, there was something strange about it. When he arrived at the kindergarten, he became the boss of the class, and his prestige was comparable to hers. Xiao Qi Rang already knew from Lu Yaoyao's tone that the person who knew the current affairs was Junjie, so he threw himself into Lu Yaoyao's arms again, hid his little head there, and muffled words passed from it. Why, my elder sister is the boss, let Rang listen to her elder sister, let Rang be the best. As for the little name Lala, you can call it at home, but you can't call it outside. The small appearance of conflict made Lu Yaoyao sometimes wonder if Qi Rang knew the meaning of his little name, otherwise, how could it be like this? The coquettish appearance made Lu Yaoyao sigh. Okay, you are the best, and the best, get up, you are so heavy now, I can't hold you anymore. Qi Rang crooked again in Lu Yaoyao's arms, and then reluctantly got out of Lu Yaoyao's arms, then stood aside and held her hand. The little hands are soft, with a warm warmth. Lu Yaoyao turned her head. Godmother, you need to buy something in the house, I'll buy it. Enough is enough. You see that there are a lot of things in the house that can be used. You won't let me take them. You have to buy them. It will cost a lot of money full of heartache. Let's keep pace with the times, Lu Yaoyao said with a smile, recalling that Chen Mei wanted to bring back all the benches in the house. Lu Yaoyao shook his head with a smile in his heart. It's 95 years now, in a few years, the more modern products will come out, and these will be obsolete. There's more. Qi Rang frowned, paused for a while, and then a crisp voice rang out, this is called being fashionable, right? Hearing these 3 words, Lu Yaoyao burst out laughing. As much as you know. That's not it, who made me have such a good sister? Qi Rang showed off. Then do you know how to write these 3 words? Lu Yaoyao asked. Qi Rang's angry little face suddenly turned into a bitter face. Sister has to teach me to write, how can I do it if I don't teach it? Hey, does it make sense? What my sister said is rational, let Rang listen. Watching the big and small tease each other, Chen Mei shook her head and turned to look at her own home. The clean and tidy house, stools, tables, and the like were all seen in other people's homes before, but with Lu Yaoyao's arrival, everything changed like this. But, daughter, it's been 5 years, and Xieping has already married, what should you do? This book was first published by Xiaoxiang Academy, please do not reprint. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 38. Zhang Xiaoyan was busy cleaning up, and was reluctant to throw away many things. Lu Feng took the initiative to throw away all the useless things. In the evening, for the first meal in the new home, I sat at the dining table and watched TV. Although there were relatively few TV stations to watch, any program was enough to attract the attention of the family of three. Especially Duo, his eyes widened when he watched the cartoon, as if he had discovered a new continent. Turn it off soon, it costs electricity, the lights in this room are so bright, and it's a refrigerator and a TV, how much does it cost? Zhang Xiaoyan showed her search agnostic side. Duo turned off the TV reluctantly, and Lu Feng was also sent to wash his feet. The most uncomfortable thing for him was that he went to bed at 9 o'clock every night. The bed was a little soft, and Duo was already asleep. Lu Feng thought that tomorrow would be the Kixi festival, so he should take his wife to a movie, and the day after tomorrow would be the appointed time with Gao Jiwei. You haven't slept yet? Zhang Xiaoyan asked in a low voice, her eyes rippling in the dark. Lu Feng felt something instantly, nodded and said, yes. Duo fell asleep. Yes. Zhang Xiaoyan got up slightly and reached out to touch Lu Feng's face. Lu Feng stretched out his hand and hugged her from the other side of the bed, causing Zhang Xiaoyan to cry out in surprise and pressed her directly under him. Zhang Xiaoyan blushed, and hooked Lu Feng's neck in a low voice, life will get better and better, as long as you are nice to me, nothing matters. In fact, I have always wanted to ask you, are you married for so long? I hate that I didn't have the same room with you. How? It's not too late tonight. Lu Feng said and lowered his head to kiss her. As soon as he touched his soft lips, an exclamation sounded from the side, Dad, why are you bullying Mom? The two turned their heads to look. Duo didn't know when he woke up, and stared at the two with wide eyes. You kid, don't sleep at night, go to bed quickly, Zhang Xiaoyan said and pressed Duo on the bed. Why is Dad pressing you? Mom did something wrong, go to sleep. Lu Feng sighed, looking at Bai Yueguang outside the window, and vowed to buy a villa in his heart. Now the Kixi festival is not so grand, only a few couples will celebrate it, the number of people in the cinema will skyrocket, and it is also one of the few times when the cinema is stronger than the video hall. Lu Feng wanted to take Zhang Xiaoyan to eat out. She thought it was expensive, so she made a table by herself. In the evening, the breeze was blowing, and it was very comfortable. Lu Feng bought 2 tickets for the movie Dragon in the End of the World starring Jet Li. Change clothes and dress up beautifully, Lu Feng said towards Zhang Xiaoyan. What are you doing? Go to the movies, go. Didn't I tell you not to buy it? Spending money, who starred? Jet Li. I've never heard of this kind of little star, and it probably doesn't look good, Zhang Xiaoyan grumbled, complaining that Lu Feng was spending money. The one who played Shaolin Temple is a big star, and Fang Xiu, Huang Fi Hung. Lu Feng suddenly realized that these movies have not been released yet. Many big stars of later generations are just ordinary people now. Standing there for a few seconds, Lu Feng finally came to his senses, smiled and said to himself, it's really an era of gold everywhere. If you have money, you can invest in a few movies and play. The family went out and went straight to the cinema. The entrance was very lively, selling all kinds of snacks, balloons, toys, and flowers everywhere. Lu Feng looked at the flower sellers. How do you sell roses? Zhang Xiaoyan hurriedly pulled him and said, if you don't buy it, it's useless. Handsome guy, do you want to buy flowers? A young man came over, put his arm around Lu Feng's shoulder and said, I also sell flowers, buy one. How to sell it? 10 yuan a flower, and 2 movie tickets for you. $10. Lu Feng frowned secretly and said, it's too expensive, don't buy it. How can you do it if you don't buy it? You said that if you want to buy it, you have to buy it, you know. It's too expensive, right? It's just a flower. 5 yuan. The other party gave conditions. We don't buy it, let's go. Zhang Xiaoyan pulled Lu Feng to leave. The man put his arms around Lu Feng's shoulder, followed by two people, attacked back and forth, unable to walk away. "If you don't buy it, you can't leave," the other party said very arrogantly. "Don't go out to find out what I do, brother, don't worry about money." The people around looked at Lu Feng with a bit of pity. There are many idiots in this place. They buy and sell by force. They can't beat others with their hands. The flower seller looked at Lu Feng and persuaded, "Spend money to buy peace, forget it." Lu Feng looked at him coldly and said, "I don't want to buy it, the movie is about to start, get out of the way." "What if I don't let it go? Who are you so arrogant to?" The man stabbed Lu Feng's chest with his hand and provocatively said, "You try to sway me again. Don't go out and find out what my Qiangzi is doing. Stop talking nonsense, pay quickly." A young man with long hair behind him pushed Lu Feng. "Don't do it," Zhang Xiaoyan hurriedly shouted. "It's okay, you take Duo to stay there, I'll take care of it." Lu Feng asked her to go aside first. There were a lot of people at the entrance of the cinema, some of whom were just here to watch the fun. Now standing not far away to watch the lively scene of Lu Feng, the crowd began to murmur. "Qiangzi has been an old cow lately. In the movie theater, he has always been able to do it. No one agrees. This kid is still messing with others, courting death. This is someone who doesn't know the current affairs. There used to be a guy just like him. At first, he was very good. Later, he was beaten and knelt on the ground and called him grandpa." When the people around heard that Qiangzi was so powerful, they were all a little frightened. "I'll ask you again, do you want to buy this flower?" Qiangzi asked with a finger on Lu Feng's face. "Not buying." "Call me." The two people next to them rushed up in an instant. They were all young men of 18 or 19. They were tall and thin without much explosiveness. Lu Feng had grown quite strong during this period of time. "Can't get close." Lu Feng turned his head and kicked out with one kick, directly kicking the long-haired man out more than a meter, and knocking down two people with 3 strikes, 5 divisions, and 2. Qiangzi did not dare to go forward. "You're useless, dare to do it, you wait." Qiangzi turned around and ran away. Seeing him like this, Lu Feng couldn't help laughing, and asked the flower seller, "How much are the roses?" "Young man, let's go quickly, do you really think it's okay to hit someone? They call someone to go, and a group will come in a while, you can't resist, a rose is a dime." Lu Feng sold all the remaining roses, holding them in a large handful, and walked towards Zhang Xiaoyan with the flowers in his arms. The girl next to him turned red. "My God, this is too handsome. You don't know how to buy me a bunch of flowers. I can buy it for you, but can you not let me give it here? Do you feel ashamed?" "No, I'm sorry." Zhang Xiaoyan looked at a handful of blushing roses, her face also turned red, and hurriedly said, "Let's go, or else it will be bad if you really call someone." Seeing that she was worried, Lu Feng nodded and was ready to leave, but Qiangzi suddenly rushed back and shouted, "You still want to leave after hitting someone? I really thought I was a scumbag." "Brother G, it's him." The crowd scattered around the audience, and more than a dozen people walked towards the side in a dark, very imposing manner. Everyone looked at Lu Feng and sighed, telling him to go, but he didn't go, and now he can't even if he wanted to go. It seems that he is completely useless today. The boy who was complained by his girlfriend just now felt very relieved when he saw Lu Feng, and he deserved a few curses in his heart. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 39. When Qiangzi saw someone coming, he was so arrogant that the two of them lying on the ground also stood up in a hurry. "I'm telling you, now kneel down and call grandpa, apologize, it's still too late, you know. Otherwise, I will give you no chance to kneel down." Kiangzi's face was grim as he shouted, "Brother Chicken, it's him." Everyone in the room was staring at Brother G. Whoever works here often doesn't know Brother G, he is the underground king of this place, and a guy like Kiangzi is just an errand. People don't come out often, and it's hard for ordinary people to see him. I've heard a lot of things about him, all of which are legends in the rivers and lakes. Brother G was biting a toothpick in his mouth, giving people a feeling of bohemianism. Without raising his eyelids, he walked up to Lu Feng, raised his eyelids, glanced at it, and was stunned on the spot. "Lu, Boss Lu. You know me?" Lu Feng wondered. "No one in the suburbs dare not know you. It's all right, don't bother you, don't take it too hard." Brother G had a smile on his face. The people around saw that Brother G had a smile on his face and was extremely humble, and they were a little confused for a while. Although Lu Feng didn't know each other, he didn't want to ask any more questions. The movie was about to start and he said, "Okay, the movie starts, I'll go first." "Okay, you can call me if you have anything," Brother G said politely. "Brother G, he hit our brother," Kiangzi said hurriedly when he saw that Lu Feng was leaving. "Shut up, something that doesn't have long eyes." No matter how stupid Kiangzi is, he still feels that he has been kicked into an iron plate today, so he shut up quickly. Lu Feng took Zhang Xiaoyan into the movie theater. "Be curious?" Kiangzi asked in a low voice, "Brother Chicken? What is that person doing? Do the four monkeys know?" "I know, didn't the mad dog get rid of it? He brought a mad dog with him, understand?" When Kiangzi heard this, the cold sweat broke down from his back, his face was pale, and he was a little scared. The mad dog has always been very famous, and if he can bring the mad dog out, he is a person who cannot be offended. Dechuo jumped up and down excitedly, Zhang Xiaoyan hugged her. However, his mind drifted away from the movie, and he quietly glanced at the man beside him, who was suddenly so unfamiliar. At first glance, that chicken is not an ordinary person, but to see him so frightened, as if afraid. After 10 o'clock, when he left the cinema, Lu Feng looked at Zhang Xiaoyan, held her in his arms, and kissed her with a lot of shameful shouting. "Happy Tanabata. Oops, it's been bad enough tonight. Go home." Lu Feng got on his motorcycle and said, "Duo, go to bed early when you get home, you know." "I won't, I'm asleep, you bully mom." Lu Feng suddenly felt a pain in his waist and hurriedly shut up. Lu Feng woke up the next morning. Zhang Xiaoyan had already gone to work, and Lu Feng should also be busy with his career. He still didn't know what Gao Jiwei was thinking. In the Lijing Hotel, only Gao Jiwei was left. The others had already returned to Zhejiang province. He lay in bed feeling a little unsure. Yesterday, he called the company and officially resigned. After hanging up the phone, Gao Jiwei's mind went blank. He didn't know what he was thinking. He used to be very motivated every day. Ever since Lu Feng told him that he was not that important in the boss's mind, he would not be promoted much in the future. The whole person seems to be drained in an instant. Such emotions surrounded him for several days, and finally he decided to take a gamble and do it with Lu Feng. Today was the appointed time, and he was a little nervous, afraid that if Lu Feng broke his promise, he would really have nothing. Putting on his suit, Lu Feng rode a motorcycle to the car rental shop, rented a hutuban, and drove to Puldatu and Handong. "Brother Feng, what are you doing with this car? Is this the Mercedes-Benz?" "Oh, I can also ride in a Mercedes-Benz. When I married my wife, I also owned a Santana." Handong looked left and right, looking like Grandma Lu entered the Grand View Garden. "Is the company registered?" Lu Feng turned his head and asked. "Registered? When will the assembly line come back?" "It should be just 2 days, soon." "Brother Feng, what are we going to do?" Lu Feng hung up and said, "Go pick up our general manager." As soon as the voice fell, The car sped away. Gao Jiwei looked down from the window, and just saw a tiger-headed Ben speeding towards it and stopped downstairs. He hurriedly stared at it with wide eyes. The car door opened, Lu Feng walked out, and behind him were Jenny and Claude. After entering the hotel, he asked at the front desk, "I want to ask, has Gao Jiwei checked out?" "It's the one who was on a business trip." "No, he's the only one who's still here, all those who came here are gone." Hearing this, Lu Feng was overjoyed. He was basically a duck to the mouth. He couldn't fly, but he had to stabilize for a while. He had just resigned and the procedure was not over. He could go back at any time. Going upstairs and knocking on Gao Jiwei's door, a lazy voice came from the room, "Who is it?" Although he deliberately suppressed his nervousness and anticipation, Lu Feng still heard it and said, Jack Lu, I told you a few days ago that I asked you to recommend someone for me. I wonder if there are any candidates? Open the door." "Okay, wait a minute." A minute later, the door opened and Gao Jiwei said, "Come in and sit." "You're the only one." Lu Feng entered the room and looked at it and asked, "Isn't the person you recommended not here?" Gao Jiwei didn't know how to speak. He hesitated for a while and said, "Mr. Lu, I want to recommend myself to you. I am very experienced in food, and I also want to create a brand myself. You're my dad's friend's employee. I'm afraid it's not a good idea." Lu Feng wondered. "It's okay, I've left my job, and I don't belong to any company now." Lu Feng's heart was overjoyed. "This is because you begged me to take you in, I didn't lie to you." There was some embarrassment on his face. He slapped his mouth for a while, sat down and said, "Okay, Boss Zong's face is really not worth it. It's so big, digging the corner will just dig the foot of the wall, and he can't do anything to me. Then you can be the general manager. My factory is relatively large. Although it has been planned for a while, it will take a few days. You can stay here for a few days now." "Bigger?" Gao Jiwei nodded excitedly. He felt that Lu Feng's generosity should mean a big factory with more than 3,000 people. And looking at his appearance is like playing a ticket. Isn't he in charge at that time? Gao Jiwei thought that he could operate a large factory with 3,000 people, and he felt indescribably relieved, and hurriedly nodded, "It's okay, don't worry. In terms of salary, I will definitely not treat you badly. Let's not talk about it. It's time for dinner. Let's go downstairs for dinner." Lu Feng stood up and walked out. His whole body was indescribably domineering. Gao Jiwei hurriedly took his things and walked out. The joy on his face was beyond words, and he couldn't hide it at all. Only Han Dong and Ditio Yu looked at him and sneered, another fool who was deceived. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 40. In the cafeteria, there was another high-level discussion. Lu Feng was in charge of blowing, and Datu and Han Dong were in charge of answering the conversation. Before talking about the domestic economic situation and the development prospects of the snack industry, the two of them were able to talk nonsense. As we talked about the international market, I couldn't keep up. In the end, only Lu Feng was left to sit there and talk about the variety of snacks, market positioning, marketing, and market share. The chat was very detailed. Both Datu and Han Dong were a little confused, staring at Lu Feng with some doubts. Is he lying to us, or is it true? It sounds so real. Gao Jiwei always felt that Lu Feng was a rich second generation. He didn't expect to know so much about the market. Although Lu Feng has some bragging elements, most of them are still ambitious about the market. Children's snacks are a big market. Once they become a leading company, the profits will be terrifyingly large. After dinner, Gao Jiwei was asked to go back to the hotel and wait. Now he is in a turtle and can't run. In the afternoon, I went to the factory to take a look. Lu Feng asked Han Dong, "Are the former workers still willing to come?" "No, it is estimated that they will all go to the talent market. These short-term workers are like this. Then let's hire a few more people. Hire 20 people first. Lu Feng glanced around and said, bring the things from the workshop here, clean this place, prepare to unload the machines, and go to the factory director's office to have a look. As expected of a former state-owned enterprise, the office is really big, with a 2-meter-long solid wood desk, a large boss chair, and a row of filing cabinets behind it. Lu Feng picked up the documents next to him and slapped the soil on the chair, sat down and looked at the two of them and said, from today onwards, I'm officially busy. GMA Food Co., Limited has been established. Datu, you are in charge of finance. Han Dong, you're still in charge of production, as a production director. It is good. Both of them were a little confused, and they were considered officials, and they were very happy, but they could sense that the amiable brother Feng was a little serious. If the previous workshop was a small business, it is now a formal enterprise, and the enterprise must have regulations. Big head, don't call it brother Feng in the future, you know. Lu Feng looked at the big head and asked. Data nodded, feeling a little uncomfortable in his heart, but felt that he was suddenly divided. Han Dong, sort out the list of suppliers, as well as quotations, etc., and make a document. As soon as the machine arrives, I will ask for it. There are also about 100 assembly line workers, warehouse management, finance, personnel, etc., procurement. As for marketing, public relations, etc., I will be busy for the time being. So many people, Data thought for a while and said, we don't seem to have that much money. Lu Feng sighed and said, after we are recruited, the salary will not be paid until 1 month later. We have 1 month. Whether we win or lose completely depends on this month. Han Dong sighed. He felt that Lu Feng was just playing the extreme operation. He won the workshop last time, but this time it's not necessarily true. The person who danced on the tip of the knife all the year round finally died on the tip of the knife. Of course, that's someone else. Han Dong can't understand Lu Feng. This person is invisible. You never know what he can do. During this time, he has felt that he is a pragmatist. As long as it is useful to me, I will use any shameless means, which is shameless, but this means can win. Simply assigning the tasks, Lu Feng pondered what to do with the first product. The cost of children's snacks is particularly low. The cost of a piece of fruit tan skin is basically about a penny. In a canteen retail, it is a dime, 10 times as much. Profit. Relying on the platform of the commissary supply and marketing cooperative, if you want to sell well, you must give them a profit. If you add an agent in the middle, the profit will drop too much. Wan Yuan's products give 25% of the profit from terminal sales. If Lu Feng wants to grab his market, he must have more. In the evening, Lu Feng stood up to return the car. Looking at the large factory, he felt the feeling of starting a business for the first time, and felt pressured. That's enough for 10. After returning the car, Lu Feng rode his motorcycle to rush home, but Ren Qianbo also stopped and was busy arguing for a divorce. Many outsiders thought it was He Yanli's reason. The two have only been together for a few days, which is impossible. Ren Qianbo, a person with a strong purpose, was doomed at the moment of marriage. Zhang Yelai is a real tiger. Now that the last bit of window paper has been pierced, there is no turning back. In the next few days, both Lu Feng and Ren Qianbo were extremely busy. As workers entered the factory, which had been silent for more than 2 years, recovered. In 2 days, everything was cleaned up, and people from various departments began to settle in, specify rules and regulations, and conduct personnel training. The machines in the workshop were smashed and forced to stop work. This time, with security guards, it can be regarded as a sense of security. With the arrival of the assembly line, everything was basically ready, and the sign at the door also stood up. At 8 o'clock in the morning, Lu Feng was dressed in a suit and leather shoes, very formal. Now I announce that GMA Food is officially established. There was applause at the scene, and even many young workers looked at Lu Feng with peach blossoms in their eyes. After all, at his age, with his temperament, and outstanding young men from such a large factory, it is really rare. The ready firecrackers sounded. Lu Feng picked up the scissors and started cutting the ribbon. Han Dong, who was beside him, could clearly feel that Lu Feng had changed, and he was not as approachable as he was in the workshop before. Especially these 2 days, when the assembly line came the day before yesterday, there was a small problem when unloading, and he was reprimanded. Lu Feng is indeed keeping everyone's distance. In the previous small workshop, it didn't matter if they called brothers and sisters. Instead, they could improve efficiency. Now it's an enterprise with more than 200 people. When the wages are paid next month, the factory will be unable to make a profit, and it will face the risk of bankruptcy. If he is still the same as before, the people below will go bankrupt in less than half a month. The reason why Lu Feng let the big head manage the finances is not because he can't find someone who can manage it. On the contrary, as long as the accountants with money and talents can be dug. For a factory of this size, the deadliest part is the finances. Small workshops only pay a little bit of money every day and collect bills on the spot. There is no greed for ink. Large groups are very strict in their finances. Even if they lose a little, they will not shake the foundation of the enterprise. It is Lu Feng's current situation that is not too big or small, and the account book is easy to manipulate. If he is greedy, he may lose his profit. The accountant doesn't need to be very powerful, he just needs to be honest. Of course, giving him 5% of the shares also has the idea of stabilizing people's hearts. The air was filled with the smell of firecrackers. Lu Feng raised his hand and pressed it down and said, "Today we are officially established. I hope GMA is prosperous. Let's all perform our duties and start production." Today is not only an important day for Lu Feng, but for Ren Qianbo, it is not easy. He walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, the scratches on his face are scabbed, but his steps are obviously a lot lighter. Starting from today, he no longer has to carry the 4 characters of son-in-law, he walked directly to the car, and just as he was about to get into the car, the driver hurriedly said, "Mr. Ren, GMA Food was established today." Very fast, Ren Qianbo threw his bag on the co-pilot and smiled disdainfully. "How much money does he have left?" "It's all in debt, it's vulnerable."